Another goalie down for VGK as Laurent Brossoit is placed on IR. What will the VGK do about its goaltending situation?
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco along with Chris Golick. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day, daily at Locked On VGK. You could find us on Twitter at Tony Dasco, at TD Chris G. And we are brought to you today by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And please make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. How did your campaign go trying to get more subscribers?
We lost one, I saw. We went from 398 to 397. And I honestly got mad and threw the phone as hard as you do whenever William Karlsson scores an empty netter. So
yeah, I don't have to worry about that.
Let's see if we got lucky. Let's see what happened.
Scored in 11 games.
Hey, we're back to 398. So there we go.
Okay.
Bam.
Okay. So Chris, this lower body injury to Laurent Brossoit now lands him on IR.
Of course.
What will VGK do with 22 games remaining? They can't go the rest of the way with Adin Hill, who Cassidy seemingly does not like, has no confidence in, and Michael Hutchinson is the backup. What will VGK do about its Tendy situation?
You know, I still think back to the jokes I made about Hutchinson and how I was rather annoyed when they first got him.
You were.
And, well, it was just like it pushed Isaiah Seville down, took minutes away from Patera. So that was my concern. Although Seville's been called up to the HSK.
Right.
What is the angle there? Are they going to toss? Does that mean Papirny goes back down? I haven't heard an announcements for the other way yet. So
the only player that was sent back down was Fraze, according to Cap Friendly on Tuesday.
Right, but from AHL to ECHL. Is Paps still a VG at HSK, or
we hope so, right?
Yeah, no, we like him. I just wonder if there's if maybe Hutch is going to go down and someone like Patera comes up. I don't know. I mean, we're talking about, we're basically on in case of emergency break glass, and this is kind of season 1 all over again. Logan Thompson, I think we start our discussion there. When is LT going to come back? And Ryan Wallace lightly mentioned on the post game that maybe 14 to 18 days is the potential. Adin Hill is not going to, VGK does not want to ride Adin Hill for, 7 consecutive games, whatever that number is. Laurent Brossoit has to miss the next 2 games based on the IR rules. And who's to say they don't LTIR him because this injury is more than meets the eye? I'm honestly wagering that there is more to the situation. So now, the question is, are they going to ride Adin Hill with the, dual backup situation of the Hutchinator and or Patera, or do they go shopping? That's the big question right now.
Well, they're going to have to probably go shopping. Is this the opening for Cam Talbot? Is this for Lama a year later? Is this something that happens? First of all, how much cap space is remaining? Is it still a little over $7 million now?
I think the number is 7 and change. I'll give you an exact in about 5, 4, 7, 2. 7, 2 is the number right now.
And there's 12.6 on LTIR.
Here's the notable with sending Brossoit to IR. We now have a roster space available.
Yeah, there's 1 space left. Yeah.
So, this is the cap gymnastics roulette wheel craps game is going right now, and VGK is scrambling to figure out what they're going to do. And we've mentioned, is there another forward in the team's future? Van Riemsdyk. I saw Nyquist was on the move to, was it Edmonton, or who signed?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So all these, moves are taking place right now. And VGK kind of started the Pacific wheels, if you will, when they made the deal for your boy Barbashev. And then now Dallas makes a move. Now Edmonton's making a move, trying to maybe clear some space for Erik Karlsson.
How about this one? Okay.
What do you got?
We are recording this late Tuesday night, and the trade that came across, the LA Kings have traded Jonathan Quick to Columbus.
What?
As part of the deal that will send back Joonas Korpisalo. So Korpisalo in exchange for Quick. And there's, I guess, some other players and maybe picks in there, whatever. But that makes, some things happen here. And now the Kings have crept up, right? And they're tied, but VGK has 2 games in hand currently.
Did they just send Jonathan Quick to retirements? Like, is that
probably
what they just did?
Yeah, of course. I mean, how many more shots could he take,
Yeah, but just abolishing him to Columbus. Like, is Columbus going to try and flip him to someone else like before the deadline? Like, that's pretty wacky. That's nuts. Like, I just found the tweet right now, and
and it said that the trade was completed in about 10 minutes, and it was Gavrikov and Korpisalo to the Kings, Quick to CBJ as part of that package.
Yeah.
So you can't stand pat. You cannot. You just can't. And especially in the Pacific Division, where we now have a logjam. Of course, there was a really good game, a matchup between Calgary and the Boston Bruins.
Pete DeBoer. Did you see Pete DeBoer? Pete DeBoer got fired by the Stars. Did you see that? He coached the Flames tonight with all the shots on goal.
Could have been. Oh my goodness, there were so many shots on goal. Yeah, but there's a lot happening. The biggest need for VGK right now is it an experienced goaltender who can win in the playoffs? Would you have to say that's at the very top of the list? We no longer have to worry about filling in that void for Mark Stone.
Logan Thompson is such an unknown right now, and hopefully we are getting him back in 14 to 18 days. Hopefully. If he's not coming back in that 14 to 18 days, we can't ride. And Adin Hill's been great this season. I feel like there's less and less people on the Adin Hill train. And it's basically me and, his family, I think, is all that's left, unfortunately.
Right.
Which is just crazy. Like, the dude's winning games, and he let in 1 goal against the Avalanche. He fumbled a puck, which obviously, whatever. But he let in 1 goal that game outside of that, poor play that he made. So he still did his job that game. Yes, the team obviously got deflated, but what I'm getting at here is if they make a deal for another goalie and all of a sudden Logan Thompson is able to come back, then what the heck is this team going to do? It's just so amazing what's going to end up happening right now down the stretch. And, like when Nick Waugh comes back now, Nick Waugh is supposedly day to day. He should be back any moment now, week 2 at the most. Like, this is so wild trying to see how this is going to happen. And if VGK does make a run this year, and I know this is something that a lot of people are arguing right now, and it's a fair argument, but if they go on a run, McCrimmon, I forgot what the award is for the GM of the year, but if they go on a run, McCrimmon's going to deserve a lot of praise for whatever has been done. If they go on a run, not win,
That's a big.
It's a bigger if than it was last week.
Historically speaking, when this team faces adversity, they cannot respond well. They don't. Do they?
Season 1 was adversity the entire time. And outside of that, you look at what happened. Okay, not a major drama, but they were up 3-1 and couldn't close the book. That's obviously some adversity, right? Big favorites against the Montreal Canadiens on a big stage. They failed. Call it what it is. And last season, with all the injuries, a lot of adversity, much more than anyone else.
The Colorado President's Cup game, adversity lost.
Yeah, with basically 9 skaters. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Right. That's on McCrimmon more than the players, of course, on the ice. But yeah, listen, I'm with you on everything that you're saying right now. And, there's so many more questions. And kind of just getting back to our goalie talk here. Steve Karp, nice tweet, kind of summarized everything. Just going off the names, not the numbers. Well, Korpisalo is gone, so forget that. Yep. Cam Talbot, Jake Allen, John Gibson, good God, and Varlamov. Varlamov does actually have history going back to McPhee way back in the Washington days.
It's a year-long process in which they were talking about him. I could remember last year at the trade deadline, that was one of the top names because we didn't know about Robin Leonard, if he was going snake farming and everything else that was
Oh,
going
your
on with the
tweet today,
VGK.
Tony. Oh my God, that was friggin' priceless. Your
What
tweet
did I
was
do? Which one?
the one with when they were frantically trying to locate Robin Leonard and he's doing the snake whispering thing and all that. So, oh my God. That one got me. I'm used to the crap that you flick all day, but that one made me stop and do a double take and type of laugh.
Good. Okay, I got someone today.
No, that was a good one, Tony. That was a good one.
Coming up next, we'll have a preview of the VGK Carolina game that comes your way right after this on Locked On Golden Knights. No matter how the last game went, anytime that you take the field, you've got to have a shot at greatness. Give your team the best shot at winning by recruiting more MVPs with Indeed. If you are hiring, you need Indeed, because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. And Indeed is the only job site where you are guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else you don't pay. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites helping to find candidates with the right skills, you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you to do it all. Indeed partners with you on every step of the hiring process. Find great talent through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, like assessments and virtual interviews. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates with resumes on Indeed that match your job description. And you can invite them to apply right away. Plus, you only pay for quality applications that meet your must-have requirements. So make sure that you check it out. Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than any other job site combined, according to Talent Nest. And join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent first. Start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post on Indeed.com/lockedon. This offer is valid through March the 31st. Welcome back on Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. And make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We just need a couple of more to get over this little hump right now. Not a hill, not an Adin Hill, just a little minor hump. And not a bump either, just a little hump. Because it's hump day. So, the Golden Knights host the Canes. It's a battle between a couple of first-place teams, actually. VGK in the Honda Pacific in a tie currently. And we have the team that leads the Metro Division in the Canes. Carolina in trade discussions for Timo Meier. We know that. VGK, of course, has Igor Barbashev. We need the Barber and Seville, Isaiah Seville and Barbashev on the ice at the same time. That's what I want to see. So the
God help us if that's the spot that we get ourselves in with these goalies, Tony. No disrespect, but oh my God.
The Canes acquiring Jesse Pulivari. He played with Sebastian Aho back in 2016 on the Finland team, and they won the World Juniors. They combined for 31 points en route to the title there. Pulivari won't be on the ice tonight against VGK because he has visa issues. So his visa was issued for him to play in Canada and not in the U.S. So who knows if this deal is even going to go through. But let's talk about this.
I was surprised you didn't say it was rigged and Bill Foley and something. I was waiting for that, Tony.
So Aho, Martin Necas, they have 52 points. Svechnikov has 51. And that's where they stand. Are we going to see, even though he won't be here, do you think that we will have a Max Pacioretty tribute video with I could see that video now. All of the VGK players washing his car.
So bad. So bad. No Max Pacioretty video. He's probably not even traveling, but
he's not traveling.
We'll save that for another time. And all joking aside, I wish we could have had one because, Pacioretty, when healthy, is a phenomenal talent. And he was very well, liked in the community and things like that. Obviously, he said some things on the way out that were, a little bit eyebrow raising, but, always a good guy with the fans and things like that. I personally, have seen his, him, being very patient with fans while his kids are on the ice and stuff, so like the dude a lot, fun to interact with, and hopefully he gets better. And I mean, he might even be thinking career, ending injury right now. Who knows?
Yeah.
Looking at Carolina, so a couple things that stand out. One, a lot like VGK, you don't have that one player really above the rest as far as the points go and the scoring, but a lot of players, this in this case a little more than VGK, but some players already in the mid-20s as far as goal totals and stuff go. Looking at how they've done since the All-Star break, a nice little run where they won 5 of 6. Oddly enough, the game that they lost was on home ice to the Anaheim Ducks. But Tony, why do you think the Carolina Hurricanes would lose on home ice to the Anaheim Ducks? I'll bet you got the answer.
Yep, 53-15 were the shots on goal by the Canes, and John Gibson stood on his freaking head, and they won the game 3-2.
That's not why, Tony. It's not why. Because it was on the back end of a friggin' back-to-back. That's why, Tony. They were on a back-to-back. That's why they lost. I'm sure that's 100% where you would have gone if I would have given you another 10 seconds to talk there. But all kidding aside, the Hurricanes have been a day one cup contender and have done nothing to slow that down. Leading the Metro is a huge task in itself. The Metro, I mean, the entire East top to bottom, but the Metro, I mean, everything is a juggernaut in the East. We've been talking about this a lot. And, what are these teams? I mean, forget what happens as these teams advance through the playoffs. What are these teams going to have left in the tank once the playoffs even starts, with how they've been battling each other and stuff like that? So, this is maybe a good time for Carolina not to deal with that. They get to play some West Coast hockey, maybe a little more of an open type of game instead of the physical in your face type games with teams like the Flyers and the Islanders, just trying to pound you to a pulp night in and night outs.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. Again, two foes in Cassidy and Rod Brind'Amour. And last year, perhaps Brind'Amour cost Cassidy his job because Carolina defeated Boston in 7, and then, of course, he was fired. So they go back with some history.
They might have won the cup. He would have been fired probably, Tony. Cassidy was done last year. He was done.
I just believe that, Cassidy knows better. He's better equipped to scout and to coach against teams from the East because of the familiarity than he can with the West, because he doesn't know as much against the West as far as tendencies, how to play them. I think this is going to be a nip and tuck game. I have Carolina on top and a little miniature storm surge there at T-Mobile Arena, 3-2.
I just cleaned my office. I was looking for something to write our picks and locks down on, so you're going to have to text me later.
I'm going to forget them again.
That's fine. We can change them. It's our show. We can do whatever we want, Tony.
Okay.
So as far as how I think this game goes, I mean, there's questions right now in VGK land, and all of a sudden the locker room is probably going to be a little bit tighter.
They're going to be tense, right? They will be.
And this is when VGK doesn't do as well. Like, you can see it in the warm-ups.
Right. You're absolutely right. You hit that. You pegged that right on the head, because there was some tightness in Colorado. Anytime that, there's some sort of, again, adversity, if you will, or the unknown, right? Because no one wants to be traded. We have to go back to what Alex Pietrangelo said a couple of weeks ago, right? Whatever he said, I didn't say because I was fumbling his name, but just to the point where Pietrangelo was just saying, every day they just want to keep that team together. They don't need any additions. Well, yeah, you do, because you have to keep up with the Joneses and not the Martin Joneses.
We've kept up with Martin Jones just fine. It's one of the few things that we do have going for us. So if we get Seattle in the first round, I'll take our chances all day long. Yeah, I mean, listen, the locker room is a finicky place, but in the same breath, I've gone back to this, probably the third time I mentioned this in probably the last week or so. It was a bad VGK loss. Pietrangelo comes out and he looks pretty composed while he's, taking the questions one by one from the media. And, I suggested questions about, hey, how's the locker room right now? How do you respond? And, I got kind of, if his eyes could, tell me to blank off, it's kind of what I got, but it was more or less along the lines of, we're veterans. We've been through this before. I think he referenced what happened in St. Louis, where the team did a last place to, Stanley Cup run, oddly enough, against the Boston Bruins. Now we're bringing that up. And Barbashev on the team too. I guess we're going to keep on going in a full circle moment here. So the players can handle this, but it takes time too. You have to process it. It doesn't fix itself overnight, i.e. you look at, the All-Star break and kind of how things got better once they had some time away from the rink. You watch the warm-ups. That's certainly a good indicator of, what's happening out there. Are they smiling? Are they talking to each other? What's going on? And that's, kind of like, I think I've mentioned this before, when you go to the racetrack and you're watching the horses in the post parade, and then you go make your bet based on how they look, kind of the same thing. I really spotted this when they played the Penguins. We're going back about a month or so ago now. And from the moment I walked out of the tunnel all the way upstairs, I put a tweet out. There's a vibe in here. The team just looks different. And I might have gone in the back and unloaded, half my accounts on my sports betting app on the Golden Knights. And that was a very easy victory that they earned. So, and tonight's game was a win-win for me, because like I said, me and my daughter are going to the game. Her second favorite team is the Hurricanes that she's adopted. So, if the Golden Knights win, Daddy's happy. If the Hurricanes win, Daddy's also happy because my daughter's happy. So it'll be a fun night regardless for the Golics.
There might not be a hotter goaltender in the game right now than Antti Raanta. 11-0-2 in his last 13 games.
That's it.
Him and Frederik Andersen pretty much split a lot of the starts down the middle. So they always have fresh goaltenders. Brind'Amour, of course, absolutely knows what he's doing. I'm more interested and intrigued by the coaching matchup than I am on what happens on either side of the ice. I really am, because I think it's going to be a game of chess back and forth. And they do have some really good history between these two coaches and two teams.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely nice to kind of have that vantage point with, a coach who has this kind of Eastern Conference history and things like that. Gerard Gallant, I guess, did, but it didn't feel the same. I don't know. It didn't feel the same. Maybe it was just different because it was year one. And DeBoer obviously was also a Pacific Division coach, so he didn't have, and he was in the East, long before that, but again, long before that. So it is interesting to see how Cassidy does match up well in these circumstances against teams from the East. And you hit a good point, a few minutes ago. It does feel like this team at times is better prepared against the Atlantic, obviously, and the Metro than the Pacific. I don't know if we've even scratched our way back to 500 yet with our good February that we had, because there wasn't a whole lot of division games in there, right?
Yeah, I think there are maybe a couple games over the 500 mark for the season against Pacific. Do you happen to have? Yeah. Do you have a prediction on the game? And then let's get into our locks of the night as well.
I don't like the VGK side. I don't. I wish I could. Honestly, the first thing that's coming to my head, and I know I'll get torn apart for this, but you and I were both right for calling the loss the other night. 5-2 Carolina. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. If there's someone who needs, a game like this, I think I'll go Paul Cotter, because I think he's going to have a bigger chip on his shoulder for getting bounced back down. And then let's kind of maybe go a little bit off the grid and, someone like Colasar, just go with the fourth line and see if they can do their job and set the tone. So 5-2 Carolina, Colasar and Cotter to the rescue.
Okay, I have Carrier and March the 1st, beginning of Marchessault Madness. It will be a Marchessault Madness sort of a night. He'll get at least one goal.
If he's on the poster, I like it better.
Okay, you'll have to send out some photos, of course, at Locked On VGK.
Dude on the poster always scores. I think Pietrangelo was on the last one. Yeah, I'll be tweeting the game. I'll be tweeting at the game. Don't worry.
Coming up next, there's 22 games remaining, as we just mentioned. How many points will VGK need to make it into the playoffs, into the playoff picture? Chris will address that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. It's about that midway point. Well, it's past the midway point, I should say, of the NBA season. And now the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get the no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is safe, it is secure, It is super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to the point scorers and threes drained in a game. And there's some of the props that I like. I like to go the route of the player props with player points, rebounds, assists, etc., all of that. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine all of your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss your chance to get the no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn a lot more. Make every one of your bets, every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. And I really do appreciate, I know you do as well, Chris, a lot of our good friends that tune in like just about every day and watch a lot of our shenanigans and nonsense. I really do appreciate that. And I know as well, you are a big fan of all the folks that send comments and everything else. It's very entertaining, keeps us engaged.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, a good, someone who I've really met as, a result of, kind of my sports card world and also doing this, Ray's become a good friend, Ray Benson. He called himself Sin City Sports. Another good friend, William Conlon. Again, that's a result of the card world and then it all kind of meshing with the podcast and so many more people. The doctor, I'm drawing a blank. I'm so sorry. You've been so nice and sweet to me every time we interacted. Exactly. But I'm so Strickland, maybe. I'm sorry, I forgot your name wrong, but yeah,
just say doc, just
the doc. But it is amazing. I mean, you guys do take a second, whether it's your home, whether like we got the nice video or the nice picture from the person having our big fat ugly mugs on his television screen. Hopefully it's just him and no one else has to go through that. Whether it's in your car or your garage, whatever it is, we do greatly appreciate it. And it's, it's very humbling just to think people have the time to listen to our nonsense. So, big thank you. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's terrific. And your comments, good or bad, we don't take it to heart. It's great and fun and engaging and entertaining, even to us. Chris, do you remember what the number was for VGK total points, the projection at the start of this season?
96 and a half?
96 and a half, 97. I was thinking in that range. Yeah, there was a hook. So either 96 and a half or 97 and a half. 22 games remaining, 76 points for the VGK, now tied again in points with the Kings on the top of the division with a couple of games in hand. And the Kings, again, another one of the trade deals that's out there. They're talking, again, I guess, a lot about perhaps luring Jacob Chikrin from Arizona to the Kings. And so everyone's
situation that is.
Yeah, they're all trying to strengthen themselves and here. And, I was looking at one thing too. I don't mean to get derailed like we usually do, but I will. So for the Kings, 13 out of their last, they only have 20 games remaining now because they have the 2 games in hand. 13 of their last 20 are at home. How many points will it take for the VGK to win this division? And I know you were tweeting out how many points you feel they need to even make it into the playoffs.
Couple things here. So I had a tweet after the game yesterday. The sky isn't falling, blah, 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 blah.
But it is. But it is. It's falling fast.
It can be and fine. And I'm not going to make that decision based off of, one game after they go 9 games without losing in regulation. Now, if we have 3 Stanley Cup contenders in a row, right? Colorado, Carolina, New Jersey. We go 0-3 and get the floor wiped with us, and we're not in any of these games, then yeah, definitely. Then we can have a different perspective. But I'm not gonna jump just yet. But I am more concerned now than I was last week. So in response to that tweet, I get a Jeff, who's LV Hattrick 702. Look at the schedule, figured out how his team gets another 25 points, which will be 101 points. Looking at the Eastern Conference numbers, Sinbin actually jumped in the conversation too, and we kind of had a good pleasant up and back about everything. And Sinbin said, listen, you got an extra team in the conference than last year, so don't go off of the Western Conference numbers. Maybe you look at the East just and kind of make your projection there. So, okay, last year it took 100 points to get in the playoffs in the East, but you had your upper echelon of amazing teams and, 30 feet of crap, call it what it was in the East last year. Now that gap is closed a little bit, as it is in the West, kind of strangely enough. So my new projection was 96 points gets you in the playoffs. VGK is currently sitting on 76 points. So here's my exact tweet. Seems like 96 gets you the wild card, and 100 is a very safe spot. Doesn't change my outlook. I certainly think the Vegas Golden Knights will make the playoffs. Here's the path right here. There's about 8 layup games when you look at the schedule that they should win. Give VGK 6 of those 8 layups. Now VGK wins 2 toss-up games. A team like Calgary, where they might match up pretty evenly.
They have two more games against Calgary.
They do. So let's split those games right there. You win 2 toss-ups. You steal 1 game on the road that you're not expected to win. Like VGK has a tough road trip, Carolina, Tampa, probably Florida's in that mix as well. You steal a game somewhere in that mix. And then, call it 3 shootout, overtime, whatever losses right there. So basically, you're looking at a record of 9-10-3, which is under 500 hockey. That gets them to 97 points. 97 points in the West, you are in the playoffs. Your worst case, you're going to be probably wild card 1 at that. But 101, 102, 103 points is probably all it might take to win this division right now, unless Edmonton just goes on a crazy run. The Kings, I'm sorry, but the Korpisalo deal does not make me feel. Korpisalo and Phoenix Copley are their goaltenders. Let's pump the brakes a little bit if everyone in LA is thinking they're going to make a deep run with that. Seattle, okay, fine, we'll see what they do, but the Flames aren't going to push VGK out of the playoffs. I just don't see that happening. So again, under 500 hockey gets VGK in the wild card worst case scenario. And if they can get, if they win some combination of 28 points, you're talking another banner up at T-Mobile for winning the division. The path is not that difficult. And they still play in the Pacific, which is by far not the Metro or the Atlantic.
Okay. VGK will end this season with a back-to-back against Seattle. So I think it could come down to that. I keep pointing to that at the end of the year.
It could. Because
it could be very important. And every point from this point forward is definitely important for the VGK.
No doubt.
So it's going to be interesting, and it's got to be coming down to the wire. And you just hope that the Golden Knights can somehow hang on there. Do you think that they win the division? Or do you think it's slipping away?
I think it's slipping away a little bit just because of the unknowns right now.
Yeah.
If Logan Thompson was healthy, I would not have that concern. Same breath, our top 6 defensemen still pretty good. And Alec Martinez has also looked a little bit better in the last couple of games too. So maybe he's kind of doing that Phil Kessel, veteran, save some in the tank type of thing right now. You look at the goals that this team has allowed, and besides the Tampa game, if I'm not mistaken, there hasn't been more than 2 or 3 goals scored on them, unless it's an empty net scenario like the other night in Colorado. So again, Zach Whitecloud and Shea Theodore are back. Things have really turned around. So that also makes me a little less concerned about the goaltending, as long as you have those 6 players, standing between the VGK and their opposition.
Yeah. And Adin Hill, though, is riding a pretty good wave, I think, overall, if you look at it, right? And
I do.
Sooner or later, the dam breaks, though. Sooner or later, he lets in a bunch of goals, I think.
Tell it to Phoenix Copley.
Okay. We haven't seen that yet, but it could be on the way. And we both are predicting that the Canes will pull out a win here. Sorry, fans.
I do think so. No,
fans.
It's the play.
Yeah, we think that's the play.
Give me 10 seconds. Let me tell you the line, but you go ahead and keep yapping here. I want to find the line right now.
No, he's going to wrap it up. Go. What line?
The betting line.
Okay.
But what do we think before we say? What do we think?
I'm going minus 120 VGK.
Oh, I was going to say 140 Carolina. So we're like 60 cents off here. I think Carolina is the favorite all day long.
Really?
I
still
so.
do. Okay.
Oh God, yeah. Let me see right now.
All right.
I'm pretty good, Tony. Hurricanes minus 135. That's the opening line.
That's the opening line.
Wow. That line's going to shift. So if you do like the Carolina side, don't bet it now, because the
might
VGK
be 110.
No, it's not. I don't think you get a 45-cent shift, but I definitely think some VGK money comes in. Maybe it's even going to be the quote unquote sharp money. Who knows? I mean, let's look at covers and see what the public split is on tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks everyone tuning in on our show. Of course, coming up tomorrow's show, we will have a recap of the big game against Carolina, plus much more. Things are happening so rapidly around here, and I'm sure we'll have some other storylines to report.
Over under number of trades on Wednesday, 6.5.
Over. Take the over. Mega trades. That's the new, thanks again to my man, Chris Golick. I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Take care.